Yo guys, welcome back to another video. I'm just gonna get straight into it. This weekend we have Renato Moicano versus Chris Duncan as a main event of a fight night. And I don't think this card is that good. I think it's very mid, especially the prelims. There are some prospects on the main card though, which we'll get to. Um Getting straight into it. Um I think Renato Moicano is in a very tough position at the moment. He's on a two-fight losing streak to Islam and Dariush. Last time he was in a situation like this was when he lost to Aldo and the Korean Zombie back to back when he was a featherweight. He's in a completely different point in his career now, but the Islam fight was on short notice. Lost by submission. Didn't look great against Dariush. Looked like he gassed relatively quickly. And honestly, it was by far the worst I'd ever seen Moicano in a very long time. And I think it's even worse because the last time Moicano won was in an amazing performance against BSD, and BSD beat Dariush with ease in one round. Like it's so weird how wrong MMA math can be at times. Like it's actually ridiculous. Like and I understand because styles make fights, but it's still crazy at times. And it doesn't make sense sometimes. But yeah, Moicano really struggled against Dariush. Didn't have the best performance. Didn't have a good performance. And I obviously feel that's the fight that everyone's going to be basing their prediction off of for this fight. And I believe Moicano is actually an underdog at the moment, um, which I think it's a bit crazy. Well, not crazy, but I just don't agree with. Moicano's getting up there in age. Duncan is just probably entering his prime, but I think Moicano is so good enough to beat Chris Duncan. Um, and Renato Moicano is a fighter who's very patient on his feet. Has decent striking, good fundamentals on the feet. But he's ultimately going to try to get to the fight to the ground. And once he gets to the ground, he's going to be looking to transition to your back or try to get to the mount. And he does it very quickly. Um, has good ground and pound, good submissions. Does well to control his opponents. Um, he has multiple ways of getting you down. He either gets you down by making you think he's going to counter punch with you, and then just level changes into a takedown, or if you get too close and you smother yourself into him, he's going to get a body lock and try to get a trip from there. So, and like I said, he's very quick to do so. He's very quick to transition to the mount and to the back. He's relentless in doing it. That's what he's best at. Moicano likes to catch his opponent's kicks as well. Another thing to get his opponents down, he likes to catch the kicks a lot. But it's usually from when he's fought opponents from the open stance and from southpaw. This is a crazy fact, by the way. Like, Moicano in his last 5 consecutive fights has fought only southpaws. Only southpaw. Consecutive fights. Dariush, Islam, Benoit Saint-Denis, Jalen Turner, and Drew Dober. Like, the last time Moicano fought an orthodox fighter was Brad Riddell almost 4 years ago. Hey, Duncan as well. Duncan in his last 2 fights has fought 2 southpaws in Terrence McKinney and Rombensky. Um, I feel like that's just a very rare thing to see. Like exactly, especially for Moicano, like consecutively. But besides the point, Moicano's gonna want to get at the fight to the ground. Has good fundamental striking, like I said earlier. Decent jab, good power, decent power in his right hand. He caught Dariush with it in the first at the end of the first round. Good low kicks, but he's gonna have to take this fight to the ground quickly, in my opinion. I think he paces himself a lot better anyway when he does get the fight to the ground early, like he did against Benoit Saint-Denis. Chris Duncan is someone that comes out the gates very quickly, um, has a decent gas tank and fights at a pretty high pace. He's very powerful, but mostly just throws one shot at a time or two quick punches, never really in combination. I do think his defense lacks a lot though. Um, he gets caught with a lot of punches, but he's extremely, extremely tough. I would say that's probably his main form of defense is how tough he is. Like I'm not just trying to just talk crap about him, but it's just true. Um, and he can take a lot of punishment. He literally his head is big, bro. He literally has a head made of stone. Um, he literally does. He has wins by KO, wins by submission. I think he'll do a lot better keeping this fight on the feet. He has pretty good takedown defense, and even when taken down, he does well to get back up. And I think he will when Renato Moicano takes him down, but Renato Moicano has to look to take him down multiple times. And even Chris Duncan, if he gets taken down and he's on bottom, he looks for submissions. Um, he's got two guillotines in a row in the past versus Balaji and Jordan Vucenic. Has a lot of momentum right now. Duncan is on a 4-fight win streak at the moment, the best form of his career so far. Well, since joining the UFC, and only lost twice in his entire pro career. Lost to Barbosa in the Contender Series and to Manuel Torres in his third UFC fight. And Torres is someone that I am very high on at the moment. A lot of people are high on at the moment. So I ultimately just think when it comes to the fight, Moicano has fought the better opposition in his career and has some good wins over top lightweights and is always competitive in these fights. Like since moving up to lightweight, the only guy that made Moicano look like an easy fight was Islam Makhachev. Like what are we even talking about? Like Chris Duncan's most competitive fight to date was the one versus Rombetsky, but his highest level opposition, which was an amazing fight by the way, great fight. Chris Duncan is always in an entertaining fight. Um, but his best fight was against Rombensky, but the highest level opposition that he's faced was probably versus Manuel Torres, and which was a fight he lost in the first round. Um, and this is Chris Duncan's second time fighting someone in the rankings. I mean Torres wasn't ranked when they fought at the time, but he is now. And Chris Duncan, yes, since that Torres loss has gone a lot better, but still, the momentum is a big thing for Duncan though, and he is very dangerous. He's not just he's not just really tough, but he also has a lot of power in his right hand, and he fights at a very high pace. But I believe Renato Moicano is gonna be able to take Chris Duncan down early and look to land some ground and pound and look for submissions. I could see it being very similar to the BSD fight early, except he gets a submission this time. I think Duncan is too tough to be KO'd on the feet with any shot that Moicano has for him. And if the fight is fought on the feet for 5 rounds, I don't see how Moicano will survive. I think Duncan will find a home for his punches. Not only with the I don't think he'll be able to survive 5 rounds with Duncan, not only because of the power, but just because the pace that Duncan sets. And Moicano has been KO'd and knocked down a lot of times in his career. I just think Moicano will get this fight to the ground, whether it's from catching one of Duncan's legs whether it's from catching Duncan's leg after he threw a kick to the body, or it comes from Duncan thinking Moicano's gonna exchange with him and he level changes. As I said, Duncan does do well to get up when he gets taken down, but even if it's something where Moicano is in full guard and Duncan pushes up, he finds a little bit of space, pushes off the hips with his feet and gets some space. Moicano's still going to he's still going to use that opportunity to try to get to the back as soon as he's getting up. He's relentless when trying to get to the back, or the mount. I think Moicano will be able to. I think Moicano will be able to get it done. but he has to keep the fight at his pace because I think he'll gas in a striking battle with Chris Duncan over 5 rounds. But my final prediction, my final prediction for the main event, I'm gonna go with Renato Moicano by submission in round two. I just believe Duncan hasn't fought anyone to the level of grappling of Moicano, or anyone really anyone to the level of Moicano. I mean, you could say Manuel Torres, but even then he lost that fight. But I do think if Duncan were to win, I think it would be Duncan by his own submission. Neither of them have ever gone 5 rounds, so it'll be interesting if it gets later into the fight. But I don't think it's going all 5 rounds, to be honest. I think people are underestimating the level. I think people are underestimating the level Renato Moicano has fought at in the past. But I respect Chris Duncan a lot. He brings a fight every time, but I'm going with Renato Moicano. But now, I'm going to give my predictions on the rest of the card. First one in the co-main event, Virna Jandiroba. Virna Jandiroba versus Tabitha Ricci. Virna lost to Mackenzie Dern in the title fight. Ricci beat Hibas by TKO in round 2 in her last fight. Every time Ricci has fought against the women that are at the top of the strawweight division, she's always come up short. She does have a win over Jillian Robertson in 2023, who recently has gotten a lot of momentum now. But other than that, she lost to Luby Godinez in the past, Godinez in the past, and Yan Xiaonan. Jandiroba was on a big win streak before her last loss to Mackenzie Dern. They're both fighters that like to take their opponents to the ground and win the fight there. I could see this fight playing out on the feet and just being like kicking from range from Jandiroba, and I could see her winning by decision. I'm going to go Jandiroba by decision. Next fight, Abdul Rahman Yakhyaev versus Brenson Ribeiro. Yakhyaev is undefeated, 8-0. He's one of the only Turkish fighters in the UFC. Had a good performance in his debut and on the Contender Series. Has only gone to one decision one time before he was on the UFC. Other than that, it's all finishes. Has a lot of wins by submission, but he has a lot of wins by submission, but he's honestly probably a better striker, if I'm being completely honest, which makes it even scarier for the opponents. Ribeiro is just another guy that the UFC has been feeding to the wolves. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna go Yakhyaev by TKO. I think he looked very good, and I was very impressed. So I think he'll continue his winning streak. Ethan Ewing versus Rafael Estevam. Ewing coming off the short notice win to Malcolm Wellmaker, which was a very good fight, and he put on a very good performance on short notice. Showed good striking. Didn't seem afraid to engage in the wrestling either with Wellmaker. Ewing is going to be looking to. Ewing's gonna try to take another O off another fighter. Estevam is currently 14-0, but he's had a lot of issues outside the cage. You know, missing weight a couple of times in his first 3 UFC appearances. Has gone up from flyweight to bantamweight now to fix the problem, and once again missed weight in doing so. Versus Ewing, missed weight, only missed by half a pound this time, but in previous ones was over by 3 or 5 pounds. It's not a great look, if I'm being honest. Estevam at flyweight does have wins over Felipe Muniz and Charles Johnson at flyweight. I think he's gonna try to take the fight to the ground. Obviously, I'm gonna go for Ewing to win by decision though. But I honestly, this is the one. I wouldn't be surprised if Estevam took him down and just controlled him for 3 rounds. So, but I'm gonna go Sorry, excuse me. I'm gonna go with Ewing by decision. Next, Tommy McMillen versus Manolo Zecchini. McMillen is a protege out of Red Hawk Academy with Tim Welch and Sean O'Malley. Just got a contract on the Contender Series in his last fight, which was a banger of a fight. Very entertaining fight. I've seen Zecchini get KO'd by Morgan Charrier before, and like that's the only thing that comes to mind when I think of Zecchini. I mean, it's the only fight that I've seen him been in. I just think Zecchini will crumble with the pace and the pressure from McMillen, and I'm gonna go Tommy Gunn to get it done by decision. He's crazy. He's a dog. He's someone that the fans are really gonna get behind, especially after this fight if he has a good performance. But next fight, Jose Delano versus Robert Ruchala. Really the two prospects that I was speaking about in earlier was Yakhyaev and Delano. I was thinking a little bit of McMillen, but it's a bit different in that one. I think that these two have already really shown their level, in my opinion. Delano looked absolutely sensational in his fight on the Contender Series. Sensational. Um, Kept an insane pace, had crazy output the whole fight. Shot selection was beautiful. I'm very high on Delano. I really am. Ruchala had a loss in his last fight in his UFC debut versus William Gomes. Another guy, Ruchala is another guy coming from KSW. Was a two-time featherweight champion there, he's decent on the feet. He is a bit slow and sluggish with his hands, but he does have some nice elbows as well. But his main goal is to take it to the ground and weigh on you. Every time his opponent his opponent is close enough to him, he always looks to clinch and like try to work to a takedown. Um, and I feel like recently, okay, hear me out. Like the KSW argument comes into play here, in my opinion. Like I don't dislike KSW. I think they're a great promotion. They like they do amazing numbers in Europe, and they've brought in very good fighters in the past. I just think there's levels at the moment. Like I feel like they've proven it with like Yakovic Wash, and he hasn't lost so far in the UFC. So it's not that bad. I'm just saying Ruchala was a two-time champion in the KSW, and he now coming over, beating William Gomes, losing to William Gomes, and Gomes isn't even a guy who is really close to the featherweight ranking. So and I like Ruchala. Like Ruchala seems like he seems like a cool dude too. He has a YouTube, so seems like a really cool guy. I'm gonna go with Delano to get to. I think, in my opinion, Delano can get a finish on the feet if he wants to. As I said, Ruchala is a pretty slow with his hands. I think Delano will be able to counter him and I think Delano will be able to counter him being the quicker guy. I also don't think Delano will mind going to the ground either with Ruchala. I'm gonna go Delano by TKO. Now to the prelims. Like this is where I have more of a problem with the card, to be honest. I think every matchup on the prelims is just mid, but we'll go over them really quickly. Guilherme Pat versus Thomas Petersen. Pat only has one fight in the UFC, 6-0 as a pro. Had a lot of TKOs in LFA, which was probably what got him signed. It's pretty quick for a heavyweight. I feel that every time Petersen has fought a different I just feel that every time Petersen has fought a decent striker, they always end up finding the chin on the feet. Um, I do think this fight will be competitive though. I'm gonna go with Pat. Get him a Pat by decision. Alessandro Costa versus Stuart Nicoll. Costa's fought the better opposition so far in his career. Steve Erceg, Amir Abazi has a win over Kevin Borja. Costa reminds me of a guy like a lot like Ricky Simone. Like he's pretty well rounded, just has less power and he has better kicks. Part of that same team in Mexico with Alexa Grasso and Diego Lopez. Nicoll is a guy who likes to take his opponents down and look to ground and pound them or get a submission. But Nicoll is currently 0-2 in the UFC. I think Costa will get the win by TKO. But if Nicoll doesn't win, I think he'll be 3-0 now in the UFC. He'll be 0-3 now in the UFC. So he's a bit against the wall as well. So Lando Vannata versus Darius Flowers. Vannata has been around in the UFC for a long time. Has fought a lot of well-known lightweights in the past. Both are coming off long layoffs. Vannata hasn't fought since 2023. Flowers hasn't fought since 2024. Flowers has not won a fight in the UFC. Both are on losing streaks. Yeah, this just isn't a good matchup, man. Well, I guess it is a good matchup in a way because they're in kind of a similar spot in their career. Obviously, Vannata having more experience, but I honestly couldn't care less about this fight, to be honest. I'll go Vannata by decision. I don't really. At least Pereira versus Haley Cowan. Pereira is the youngest women's fighter in UFC history, only 20 years old. Only has had one fight in the UFC. And didn't have the best performance in her last fight. Received the first loss of her career to Rendon. And she just looked like she lacked the experience the entire fight, which she obviously does. She's very young. Cowan had a lot of inactivity before her last fight. She was out for almost 2 years. But I think I'm gonna go with Cowan by decision here. I just think I think Pereira's too inexperienced still. Azamat Bekoev versus Trishan Gore. Yeah, Trishan Gore's against the wall in this fight. He really is. Has to get a win. He's 2 for 6 in his UFC fights. I think if he doesn't win, he's probably gonna be cut. If I'm being completely honest. Bekoev was on a win streak before his last loss to Belgarwi. Has a lot of wins by KO and submission. Has decent power in his hands. Always tries to take his opponents down. Gore had decent takedown defense versus Rodolfo Vieira. He's gonna have to keep this fight on the feet if he wants any chance. And Gore does have big time power, so that's another reason why I think Bekoev will be wanting to take the fight to the ground fairly quickly. But I'm gonna go with Bekoev to win this fight, and it sucks, dude, because I actually like Trishan Gore. He seemed like a very cool dude coming off the Ultimate Fighter, but it is what it is. I'm gonna go with Bekoev to get it done. Leone Barbosa versus Melissa Gatto. Gatto, another one that hasn't fought in a year. Barbosa is a very good grappler, very good jiu-jitsu. And her striking has gone a lot better over time. Gatto mixes up her striking into her takedowns. I'm gonna go Barbosa by decision. I think it'll be a very competitive fight. First fight of the night, I guess. Kamaka versus Dakota Hope. Kamaka gets re-signed to the UFC after long stints at Bellator and recently the PFL. Kamaka, a very experienced guy. Hope making his UFC debut at 11-1. And every opponent that he's fought on the regional scene at least had a winning record, which is always a good thing. But I think Kamaka should be able to get this done. He's way more experienced. I'm gonna go Kamaka by decision. And yeah, man, those were my full card predictions. I got Moicano winning the main event. Let me know down below What do you think of the card? Like I said, I don't think it's great, but I do like the main event. Like I said, I don't think it's worthy of a main event, but there have been worse for main events, so it's not. It is what it is. I think it's a good matchup though. Thank you guys for watching once again. Thank you for your time. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.